Hey everybody, it's Pete. Good morning. It's Friday morning, full week, excellent week of trading. Hopefully you've been joining us during the week. It is December 11th, 2020. You want to say happy birthday to my nephew Gino tomorrow, 12/12. He is 16 this year, actually getting big. He's actually taller than me at this point. Today we're going to focus on stocks and earnings, but we're actually going to focus on a stock that is a theme park that just recently laid off 32,000 people that has also just made all-time highs. Not making sense, but what is making sense and what's interesting about this company is how they've completely transformed their business model to where their net profitability is coming from. And of course, it's online, like pretty much every other company that's skyrocketing these days. We're going to start out taking a look at the news. Futures are down a pretty decent amount this morning. This time they're blaming it on Brexit. I guess you need a reason every day, right? So we're going to actually look at energy stocks, which have been very strong. We've been talking about them for a while now, FANG and a bunch of other oil and gas stocks. This is one of the biggest things about trading. When the market itself gives you these kind of days and weeks where it's not obvious. Well, obviously we just came off all-time highs. But today is the possibility of the market being negative. It's very important that you get in and you dig in. You do a little bit more research than just the cursory, lazy headline searching. And you got to get in there and see which stocks have been the strongest for the last month, the last week, yesterday, which of those have been in sync that you can actually get in there and say, okay, order flow has been very obvious in these stocks. And this is one where if the market's coming down, there's something that we talk about that's called holding the bid. And that basically means when a stock pushes higher, we're really kind of sitting back waiting for what might be called the easier trade after that, which means you get action, you get confirmation, you get some sort of bullish movement. And then you're like, okay, that was good. Now I want to see if they hold it. Because what happens is it's very often where newer traders especially start to chase a scan. They'll see, they'll look up whatever their scanning platform is, which stocks were up the most yesterday, which stocks were up the most pre-market. What you don't realize is that that's such a tiny piece of the picture that you need to know to trade with conviction. You need to know, is it just this morning? Is it the last day, the last 2 weeks, the last 2 months? And if and when you start to get some spikes like that, you want to say, does it stay there? Does it hold the bid? And I keep bringing this up because we're seeing a lot of new members having epiphanies, really, where they realize now that they were just tracing 1 day's worth of price action and the market wasn't holding the bid yet. The reason I keep going back in circles on this is because the energy stocks have held the bid. And interestingly, the airline stocks as well, the cruise line stocks as well, and even the some financial stocks as well, where they've had these big explosions up, not necessarily actively day trading them every day, but from week to week, they've been holding the bid. So they've been we call it a push and a pause. You probably see me talk about it here. I'm bringing this up so that you can start to train your eye of how to notice which stocks should have your attention, which stocks should have your hard-earned capital, which stocks you should feel conviction allocating your first initial piece of building a position because smart money has held the bid. It's one thing to get an explosion. It's another thing to stay there. Once it stays there, I want to explain what that means. When it pushes higher and then goes sideways, or even just pushes higher in general, you want to see now, okay, there was somebody, some smart money activity pushed that stock up. Now, what happens is you need to know, are they still there supporting the bid? If they're still there supporting the bid, meaning it doesn't pull back or it doesn't pull back with any kind of volume, that means their bid is still under the market and they still want those shares. So what happens is as it spikes up, it pushes up, they hold it there, and then if it's a light volume pause, you generally see another move in that direction. And like I said, that's why I keep talking about a push and a pause, a push and a pause. That pause, we're looking to see them hold the bid. So we're going to see that in quite a few energy stocks now. So let's hang it over to the list. We have 17 stocks to review today that are going into today's list. Market's opening lower by a pretty decent amount. It hasn't been down this much in a while, but that's going to happen towards the end of the year with a lot going on. I mean, look, we get some new members in the boot camp and they're like, why is this happening? There's a massive amount going on in the world right now. The election chaos, for lack of a better way of putting it, even though it's been decided, the good vaccine news, the horrific pandemic numbers that we're seeing right now. I don't want to get into the amount, more than 9/11 each day right now in the United States, which is incredible, really. So all of these things are going back and forth. But what does that mean for you as a trader? That means that you need to respect risk. That means that you need to be legging into positions if they're not perfect scenarios, but they have room to go. And especially if you're day trading, you need to really work your watch list. So let's take a look at some ideas today. Let's take a look at a couple of headlines, and we'll see how we can finish out the week with a really strong week. So you can see this is where we are right now. This is all being blamed, and I say blamed in a trading sense, on Brexit. And you can see here, stock futures dip amid talk about disruptive Brexit. I feel like we've been talking about Brexit for 10 years now at this point. So that's the reason they're giving it this morning. Wall Street Journal reporting that. Look, is that the actual reason? Probably not. It's profit taking. We just hit all-time highs. Energy stocks are floating higher. Cruise lines are floating higher. Financial stocks are floating higher. Yeah, this is the reason for today. But look, how long have we been talking about Brexit? Longer than I can even imagine. So what are we going to focus on today? We're going to focus on this. We're going to focus on stocks that are in our sweet spot, where they're strong, where they're well bid, they're holding the bid, and we're looking for follow through. Disney is the name of the company that we were talking about before. Obviously, they just laid off 32,000 people not too long ago because of the pandemic. Yet the stock is hitting new all-time highs because of Disney Plus. They're talking about now 260 million potential subscribers by 2024. So this is really the number. Netflix kind of set the bar with every quarter you're looking at where is the subscriber growth. And now 86.8 million subscribers, where obviously Marvel Studios is a big part of Disney. Disney has now their own streaming content. So this is definitely one that we're going to start building a little bit longer term position in, and absolutely trading it today as well. So we head back over to the daily charts. We'll take a look at Disney. So what exactly does that mean? Right? What does that mean? So you can see right now after Investor Day, it's actually trading at 165 right now. So we call in the boot camp the optimal entry. We kind of missed the optimal entry, which was technically this bullish U-turn right here. But again, what I want to point out, I want to train your eyes right now, right? To keep it simple, a push and a pause. So they held the bid, a push and a pause. They held the bid, push and a pause, a push and a pause. And now we're looking for the next push. But I want to be clear, the optimal entry was yesterday. So you're chasing price a little bit. It's up $10 at this point after yesterday's news, right? After yesterday's event. So what does that mean? How do you handle a trade that's skyrocketing past what might be called the optimal entry? In this particular case, that means that you need to enter with a lower initial share size, fully anticipating the fact that the stock could very likely pull back a little bit today, maybe even the next couple of days before making the next move. And we want to see, are they holding the bid? So as a day trader, I'm going to trade this a little bit aggressively today if it meets certain criteria that we look at, that we teach, understanding how to read the tape. But as a little bit longer term trade, I want to work that position. So we spent a lot of time in last Monday's coaching call talking about trading around a core position, and this would be a very good example of that. But again, I want you to really keep your trading as simple as possible, where if something spikes, you should be thinking to yourself right now, I want to see if they hold the bid. And bid means buying, right? Bid means they're advertising to buy. In trading terms, when a company is buying their own stock, it's what's known as a natural buyer. They're just sitting on the bid, holding the bid. So in this case here, I'm not saying Disney's buying their own stock. I'm saying that holding the bid means that there's a buyer under there. After the explosion, they're holding the bid. After the explosion, they're holding the bid. That's what I want you to train yourself to think, right? So next, we're going to talk about some other stocks that are definitely in play again today. QS, Quantscape. Look, it's a day trading stock for me right now. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the week. We said 2 days ago, looking for profit taking. We got the profit taking yesterday, traded into a consolidation, looking to open a little bit lower today. I'm not looking to sell it short. It's in my list today because it's very active, has volatility, and has volume. So again, if it meets certain criteria intraday, I will be looking for some opportunities to get long the stock and trade for some cash flow. LAZR, L-A-Z-R, Luminar, has now pulled back and traded into what we call a buy zone. It's actually set up not quite as a saturation play, which is one of our proprietary setups in the bootcamp. However, I am looking to buy the lower opening in LAZR today, very similar to what we talked about yesterday in NET, AMD. Looking for these stocks to open lower, find the support, and very early in the day, look for a spot to buy. So you can see actually here, if we go into this, you can see clearly Yesterday's first print tested the previous day's low. And this is one of the top questions that we get. When do you buy a strong stock that closes weak? Well, right out of the gate, if it holds the previous day support. It's one of my favorite setups, and it's been working for a long time. Twitter, actually, working its way back to you, babe. Coming back, really good spike yesterday, some good positive news. And the big level we were watching was 48, and it just absolutely crushed 48 yesterday, went $3 past that, opening a little lower this morning. We are looking now to hold this area above 50 and start building a position above 50. Crowd, excuse me, CRWD, CrowdStrike Holdings. Again, another one that we've been watching. I want to point this out as well. We've been having some really easier order flow to read after earnings. So we've been I personally have been staying away from trading into earnings, letting the dust settle, come out. And yesterday is another good example of that, where we had some good opportunity. I'm looking for this to reassert itself back above yesterday's high, despite today's lower opening. SNAP, look at this guy hanging in there, right? Again, you want to start training your eye, noticing it, right? Here's the gap. They held the bid. Here's another price. This pulled back a little harder than you would have liked, but it did give us a nice entry to enter in the next direction. But then again, it pushed higher. They held the bid. It pushed higher. It held the bid for one day and exploded again. So again, these lower openings aren't a big deal. I'm still looking to get long some of these stocks. Sticking with what we just talked about earlier with the energy stocks, I'm going to break these out a little bit so you can see that the longer term plays here are looking pretty good. So we have Hess, FANG, which we've been really highlighting over the last couple of weeks. And I'm going to rattle off the list. You can choose whichever ones meet your personal resources. So you could PXD, finally got through that 110 level, and now it's holding the bid there as well. MPC, also, OKE. The reason I'm bringing these up is I want to also start to really bring up EOG and PSX. It's important that you understand that there is the market, and then there's individual groups that are tradable at that moment. And again, I keep bringing up the solar stocks, the electric vehicle stocks that we've been taking advantage of this year. Now, this has been a good trade since the beginning of November. So you need to be on top of this. And if you get just basic technical analysis, you can see the trend line broke here. This is where it started, and they held the bid. So they held the bid, it pushed higher. They held the bid, it pushed higher. They held the bid, it pushed higher. And now it looks like we're heading back up again. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 energy stocks to take a look at there. And then we want to finish up with financials. So you can see Citigroup, again, holding the bid and actually having a really, really good day of follow through yesterday. So again, when do you get involved in these stocks that are opening lower? Well, if you can't be at your screen during the day, you need to set what is known as a buy stop order above the market, or if you want to buy it a little bit below the market on a slight pullback with the stop loss at yesterday's low, you can do that as well. So different types of orders depending on if it's moving in your direction. So Citigroup and Goldman Sachs, will be two stocks in my list today. I know that everything is pretty much opening lower today, but you need to have a bigger picture. And that's actually something that is probably not discussed enough among trading circles, where if you want to be long a stock, you want to be a buyer of a stock, but it's opening lower today, it shouldn't shy you away from a good idea. Because remember, you're not trading today's open. You're trading the bullish order flow prior to today's open, which is where you get the conviction from. We get that a lot with new members in the boot camp, where stocks are going down right now. And they're like, I don't understand, why are we looking to buy it if the stock's going down? Because we're not buying the immediate price action. We're buying the last week. We're buying the last 10 days, the last 2 weeks, the last 2 months of bullish order flow that's supporting that stock in the first place. Today's just giving us a chance to buy those stocks at a little bit better price. So if you have any questions about this, definitely leave a comment below. If you have any stock picks that you'd like to see discussed, leave those below too. As soon as we have some time, we'll definitely get back to you. If you are a regular member of the channel and you find these videos helpful, please click down and subscribe. That would mean everything to me. And if you'd like to trade together, definitely click down and learn about the boot camp too. It's such a tiny investment for what you get out of it for 30 days. I hope to see you on the other side. Be safe and have a great weekend, everybody.